Her shaved head, under a storm of flashing cameras, was a silent scream that ended up becoming the most profitable image of her downfall. A kiss with Madonna on live television. The perfect provocation from a system that pretended to sell innocence while actually selling desire. A green umbrella smashing against a photographer's car window. The explosion of rage from a cornered woman that the entire world consumed with endless fascination. A global superstar who generated over $600 million. Yet legally couldn't even decide the color of her own furniture. A baby nearly slipping from her arms in front of paparazzi. The exact moment the media labeled her an unfit mother, justifying everything that would come next. Placed under lithium treatment, a psychiatric drug so powerful it made it difficult for her to even speak, but didn't stop her from going on stage in Las Vegas and generating millions. Her current Instagram posts. Strange dances, distant stares, and videos many interpret as a new warning sign. Hidden cameras in her bedroom, even behind her bathroom mirror. Every message, every private call recorded by a security team she was forced to pay for herself. Was all of this meant to save her life? Or was it the most profitable legal captivity in Hollywood history? For years, the world watched Britney Spears as if she were a spectacle, the princess of pop, the perfect girl, the star who went crazy. But almost no one asked the most uncomfortable question. How can one of the most successful artists on the planet have no control over her own life? How does someone capable of filling stadiums, selling millions of records, and generating fortunes end up trapped in a legal conservatorship for more than 13 years? This wasn't a sudden collapse. It wasn't a bad decision. And it wasn't just a personal crisis. It was a fall, built slowly over time. Years of pressure, years of control, and years of an industry that needed Britney to keep performing, even while she was completely broken inside. Because sometimes, fame becomes a perfect prison. This is Behind the Icon, and this is the story of Britney Spears. In the late 1990s, the music industry was looking for a new face, someone young, someone marketable, someone who could become a global phenomenon. And Britney Spears was perfect for that. With "Wubber It Baby One More Time," everything exploded. The song became an instant hit. But it wasn't just the music. What truly completed the impact was her image. Britney appeared as a teenage girl in a school uniform, dancing in front of the camera with a perfect mix of innocence and provocation that the industry knew exactly how to sell. She was only 16 years old, and she was already being seen as a global product. In a matter of weeks, she went from being a rising promise to becoming the new face of pop. #1 on Billboard, covers, campaigns, tours, interviews, all at the same time. Britney was no longer an artist. She was a brand. And the more that brand grew, the less space there was for the person behind it. Her life stopped belonging to her. Everything became part of the character: how to dress, how to speak, how to smile, how to respond, even how to be desired. And all of it had to be done without ever losing the appearance of innocence. The industry had found the perfect formula, and Britney was at the center of that machine. The problem is, no one ever asked how long that could last before it broke her. But before we continue, there are 3 signs that showed everything was already wrong from the very beginning. 1. From a very young age, Britney was constantly hypersexualized by the media. Magazine covers, TV shows, interviews. Everything revolved around her body, her image, and her sexuality. She was a minor, treated as a public fantasy. 2. While she was desired by everyone, she was also judged for everything. If she was sensual, she was criticized. If she tried to defend herself, she was attacked. If she made a mistake, it became a national scandal. She couldn't win. She could only endure. 3. Many interviews were openly humiliating. They asked about her virginity, her body, her private life, all in front of millions of people. All normalized, all turned into entertainment.
You have to realize that we're people, and that we just need privacy, and we need our respect, and those are things that you have to have as a human.
The pressure didn't come later. It was there from day one. And at some point, it became convenient for someone to build the image of the perfect villain. When Britney began her relationship with Justin Timberlake, they became the golden couple of pop. Young, famous, perfect for magazine covers. They were the ideal image of the early 2000s. But when that relationship ended, the story changed completely, and Britney ended up paying almost the entire price. Justin said his part, the media amplified it, and the speculation kept growing.
You said, I've only slept with one person in my whole life, 2 years into my relationship with Justin. And yet he's left the impression that you weren't faithful, that you betrayed the relationship.
I'm not technically saying he's wrong, but I'm not technically saying he's right either.
And very quickly, a simple, convenient, and highly sellable narrative took over. Britney was to blame. Britney was the one who betrayed him. Britney was the problem. For years, that narrative stuck. While Justin moved on and built a new chapter in his career, Britney was publicly marked. The details didn't matter. The truth didn't matter. What mattered was the character, and she had already been cast in that role. Then came impulsive marriages, quick divorces. A personal life turned into a media circus. Every personal decision became global news. Every mistake had an audience. Every downfall generated profit. And while all of that was happening, the paparazzi stopped following her and started chasing her. They waited outside her house, hospitals, courts, her car, every single outing. They weren't documenting a life. They were waiting for an emotional breakdown to happen. Britney could no longer walk peacefully. Even something as simple as going out to buy something turned into a battle. Dozens of photographers shouting, cars blocking her way, microphones in her face, cameras just inches away, all the time, every single day. There was no pause, no refuge, no privacy. While she was trying to be a mother, the world wanted to see her fail. Every family conflict made the front page. Every court hearing became a show. Every personal struggle was monetized. Her mental health wasn't treated as a human issue. It was content, it was ratings, it was business. And the worse Britney got, the better it worked for everyone else. That was the real scandal. Not her breakdown, but an entire industry watching that breakdown as entertainment. Until finally, everything exploded. In 2007, something shocking happens. Britney shaves her head in front of photographers. Days later, she attacks a paparazzi's car with an umbrella. The images spread across the world. They become a symbol, a meme, a global spectacle. For the public, it was pure morbid curiosity. For the media, it was gold. But behind those images, there was something far more serious. There was exhaustion. There was extreme pressure. There was a person completely overwhelmed. Soon after come the hospitalizations, the court cases, the custody battle for her children. And then something appears that would change her life completely: the conservatorship. Her father, Jamie Spears, takes control of her finances, her career, and much of her personal decisions. Legally, Britney is treated as someone incapable of managing her own life. But that's where the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. Because while she was supposedly unable to make her own decisions, she could go on tour, she could record albums, she could generate millions. Too incapable to be free, but capable enough to keep producing money. And that's where the real story begins. Not the story of the breakdown, but the story of the legal cage. But before we continue, there are 3 things that made this story even darker. 1. During the conservatorship, Britney kept working non-stop. Las Vegas shows, albums, tours, millions and millions of dollars. The problem was, she never had real control over that money. She was generating the fortune without being able to decide anything about it. 2. Britney revealed that even decisions about her own body were controlled. She couldn't make certain medical choices. She even said she wasn't allowed to remove an IUD, even though she wanted to have more children. She couldn't freely decide about her personal life. The conservatorship wasn't just financial. It was total. 3. On social media, her posts started to seem unusual. Repetitive videos, ambiguous messages, behavior that many fans interpreted as calls for help. She couldn't speak freely, so she started speaking the only way she could. And people started to listen. And for years, something didn't feel right. Britney kept working. She kept appearing in public. She kept generating millions. But every interview left a strange feeling.
What do you think it'll take to get the paparazzi to leave you alone?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that one of your biggest wishes?
Every public appearance seemed carefully controlled. There was something in her eyes, in the way she spoke, and in what she avoided saying. Fans were the first to notice. And that's how the hashtag FreeBritney movement was born. At first it sounded like a conspiracy theory, obsessed fans, internet exaggerations. But over time, the pieces started to fall into place. Documentaries, investigations, lawyers, testimonies. Everything began to reveal a much more uncomfortable reality. Britney didn't control her money. She didn't control her career. She didn't control basic decisions about her own life. A global superstar, living under a system of extreme control. Public pressure kept growing. Protests reached the courts. And finally, Britney spoke. In a courtroom hearing. No character, no script, no choreography. Just her. And when she spoke, the world understood everything. She spoke about fear, about humiliation, about control, about abuse. She said she felt traumatized. She said she wanted her life back. In that moment, something became impossible to deny. This wasn't protection. It was a legal prison. In 2021, after more than 13 years, the conservatorship finally comes to an end. Britney legally regains control of her life, her money, her decisions, her body, her future. For the world, it was a victory. But the real question was something else. What's left of a person after living more than a decade without autonomy? Because regaining legal freedom doesn't mean regaining peace. Britney was no longer the girl from the music videos, nor the hit-making machine of the 2000s. She was a woman who had spent much of her adult life under constant surveillance. No privacy, no control, no normal life. And that's when, on social media, she began to show herself differently. More free, more spontaneous, sometimes more chaotic. Like someone learning how to live without instructions for the first time. There was no classic triumphant comeback, no perfect return to the spotlight. There was something else, something more real, more uncomfortable, more human. She tried to rebuild herself, to find who she was outside the character, to discover who she really was after spending half her life being what others needed her to be. Britney Spears was not just a pop star. She was the perfect experiment of an industry that turns people into products. The world celebrated her rise, consumed her fall, and took far too long to ask what it had all cost. Because Britney didn't lose her freedom when she shaved her head. She had lost it long before that. She lost it the moment she stopped being seen as a person and started being valued only as a spectacle. Sometimes, the greatest success can also be the biggest prison. This was Behind the Icon, and this was the story of Britney Spears. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments which story you'd like us to tell next. Because behind every icon, there's always a story that hasn't been told.